As we await for what will undoubtedly be the anime of the year to hit, and the hype builds for the Chainsaw Man to conquer the world, it's time for me to do my small part towards contributing to the building hype storm by talking about one of my favorite elements from the first part of our beloved series, and that is, of course, the first big bad villain, the Gun Devil. Many series have big bads, but few handle them quite the way Fujimoto does in Chainsaw Man. So I'd like to throw my hat into the ring and talk about what makes such a dumb-sounding villain so special, and so terrifying. So join me, fellow chainsaw people, fiends, and hybrids, as we break down Fujimoto's genius and take a look at what makes the Gun Devil so brilliant. You gotta love shooting gun back, don't you grab it. So what's most interesting about Chainsaw Man is how it plays into so many shonen staple tropes. Like, if you look at the core cast of characters with Denji, Power, and Aki, they kind of resemble the three-man setup that you might have seen before in some other series like Jujutsu Kaisen. You got the kind of dumb, fun-loving main protagonist, you got the serious, brooding, emo bad boy who always looks like he's always kind of pissed off, and you have the girl. We've seen this kind of setup in other manga before. Hell, you could say that the three-man archetype team became especially popular after the success of Masashi Kishimoto's Naruto, and for a hot minute became the archetype that a lot of mangaka looked to replicate. But Fujimoto used this as a starting point before putting his own unique twist and spin on things. He used the typical tropes of shonen storytelling as his baseline, but then proceeded to just go buck wild from there. Early on, he introduces the Gun Devil, a malevolent force responsible for several terrorist attacks leading towards the death of 1.2 million people over the course of 5 minutes. Makima implies that Denji will get to sleep with her if he manages to kill the Gun Devil, giving him an overarching, if superficial, goal. Parts of the Gun Devil are being found in local devils all across Japan, and if they get enough pieces of the Gun Devil together, it'll eventually allow the Japanese Public Safety Department to be able to track down the Gun Devil and take it out once and for all. So Denji is a long-term goal that can be made up of smaller individual arcs as he faces off against devils of increasing strength, as he works his way up to fighting the Gun Devil as the final boss. It's a pretty standard structure as far as these things go, but Fujimoto has much bigger things on his mind than simply telling the same story over and over, with Denji chopping up different devils as he slowly makes his way up a fighting game-style pyramid, facing one foe after another. This simplistic structure kind of reaches its end rather abruptly after the Eternity Devil arc, where Denji, aided by several devil hunters in public safety, track down and kill the Eternity Devil. At first, they're scared that they'll be stuck in time in one location for all of, well, eternity, but Denji confronts the devil and defeats it, earning the trust of his new co-workers, and then they all go to celebrate with food and drinks. I love the scene, honestly, and would have been fine with it as the new status quo, but it wasn't what Fujimoto had in mind for his grand design. Because after building a competent shonen setup that he could have milked for 150 plus chapters, he proceeds to completely tear it all down in the span of a couple pages, by showing all of Denji's new teammates getting killed by people with guns, who are ostensibly all trying to claim the powers of the Chainsaw Man for themselves. This new status quo didn't matter, and in many respects, the Gun Devil didn't matter as much either. I almost wonder if it was something he put in as an editor's suggestion. In an interview with Anime News Network, Fujimoto even admits as much when asked about how his work doesn't feel like something you'd traditionally see in Shonen Jump. Because of its violence and dark humor, Chainsaw Man is often described as not Jump-like, Jump manga. How do you initially pitch the series to Jump? I always wanted to serialize in Jump, so I had the feeling if I drew a serialization there was a risk that my work would get buried if I made a Jump-like manga. Because of that, I tried to retain much of my individuality as a creator, while making only the structure and characters Jump-like. So there you go, Fujimoto created a Jump-like starting roster of characters and a Jump-like story structure before completely throwing it away and doing his own insane thing. But despite seemingly kind of forgetting about the Gun Devil, he never really forgot about the Gun Devil. Because in the end, he does circle back to it, but also manages to subvert our expectations, but in a much better way than Rian Johnson.
Hello, I'm Ryan Johnson, and this is Noah Segan. Make sure that your phone...
So after a few great arcs towards the end of the Chainsaw Man's Part 1, it's finally time to face the Gun Devil, and Aki has always wanted to get revenge against the Gun Devil for losing his entire family to it. And we see that Aki wants to withdraw from the Gun Devil expedition so he doesn't have to put Power or Denji at risk, having grown very fond of both of them. But Makima manipulates him into going, and also revealing the truth of the Gun Devil. The Gun Devil had already been killed and defeated, with its parts being distributed to other national superpowers like Russia, America, and China. Thus, instead of some kind of heroic vengeance-fueled quest to vanquish the supreme evil responsible for killing his family, Aki is about to be pulled into a never-ending proxy war over nothing. Now you might consider this an anticlimactic disappointment if you were waiting for a huge drag-out brawl between Denji and the Gun Devil as the big bad of the series, but since the Gun Devil is mentioned only sparingly, it's really hard to get too annoyed about it. Fujimoto never really put in the legwork to build up the expectations about the Gun Devil being this all-powerful foe, so nor was anyone else in the fanbase particularly disappointed with this reveal, especially with what comes next. All this time, the focus has been shifting over from the Gun Devil being the ultimate baddie towards Makima. She was always kind of served the role of a malevolent anti-hero by killing Rez along with Quan Chi, but the idea was that because she was the morally dubious person working on the side of the good guys, this was all acceptable. This becomes especially pronounced in the scene where she intimidates the Yakuza by taking all the eyes of all their loved ones and declaring herself the real necessary evil. But once the OG badass and devil-hunting mentor Kishibe voiced his desire to try and stop Makima through written cue cards to avoid her gaze, the warning bells were turning into sirens. As if that wasn't enough, after Aki has the revelation that he wants to save Denji and Power, he meets with Makima on the beach, asking her for the power to keep Power and Denji safe. The Angel Devil remembers a faint memory where he went off to a far-off shore on an island, and due to Makima's influence, he killed all of the people around him. But before he can get Aki to stop, it's too late. He pledges his everything to Makima as she takes total control. Then the President of the United States gives 1 year of every American's lifespan to the Gun Devil in order to try and bring Makima down once and for all. And so the Gun Devil attacks. What's especially interesting is how Fujimoto handles the Gun Devil's attack. In cinema and entertainment, we're used to huge giant spectacles, featuring huge city-destroying feats of glorious carnage generated through the power of hundreds of computers. Like in Man of Steel, where Metropolis evaporates in the battle between Zod and Superman. The Avengers save New York, but not before presumably hundreds of thousands of people are caught in the crossfire of an invading alien force. Not to mention the spectacles like Independence Day that are largely bloodless as they showcase entire cities being annihilated. But don't worry too much because the dog manages to get out of the way in time. We enjoy these consequence-free fights because they're fun. We love the spectacle of seeing things get devastated and destroyed, but most films don't really dwell on the consequences of that destruction. You could argue that the opening scene of Batman vs. Superman kinda tries to address it, but doesn't do a particularly great job of it. What Fujimoto does, in a very distant, cold, detached, calculating language, like a government agency recounting the events of a disaster, he describes the actions of the Gun Devil after it's unleashed. It proceeds to go on a massacre, first by shooting up a church filled with a choir of young children, and then proceeds to move into more populated areas. All the while, each scene featuring the chaos and destruction of the Gun Devil is marked by a list of names, the names of everyone killed in its carnage. The mindless destruction we typically enjoy as a new horrifying reality. These are all people we never knew, but they are the consequences of our thirst for spectacle. Like the little boy who goes out to play soccer only to become another name added to the huge list of casualties. This is carnage and spectacle, but by providing names, it's carnage that we aren't supposed to enjoy or cheer for. It's probably one of the most radical things I've ever seen done in the space, and it helps to personify the greater fear we have of mass tragedy. We all love to glorify huge spectacle and destruction on the big screen or on television. In the real world, this is often how tragedy is met, though. Just a list of names. It doesn't matter if it's a shooting, a building accident, a car crash. We are always just confronted with a few images, some video, and a list of names for the people we will never know. It doesn't affect us directly. It's just something we passively consume as a part of everyday life. Something that as we grow older, we also get more desensitized towards and dispassionate towards hearing about tragedy.
How do we solve this first one?
Active shooter! Active shooter!
And now we divide, right? Craig, how about you?
Shooters in the hallway! All units report!
Now I'm giving you an opportunity to do better. There's something going on
Another
here.
school shooting today has left students in shock and disbelief.
Stanley, oh my God, baby! Oh, you're okay.
Hey, Mom.
What happened at school today?
Oh, the school shooting?
Yes, the school shooting!
Oh, yeah, some kid shot up the school.
Was it you?
No.
What's this about failing a math quiz?
Are you serious?
Just how, as a nation, we've become disturbingly numb towards the continuous outbreak and plague of school shootings. It's just something we've come to accept as a banal part of living in modern life. But what Fujimoto does that's even more clever is that he makes it personal yet again. On this page, as the Gun Devil makes its way towards Makima, we see a list with more dead names, and on it is Aki. One of the beloved core characters of the Chainsaw Man trio is here, and he is completely alone, with his death confirmed on the list of names. No glorious send-off, no fanfare or grieving characters holding his body, wishing a teary farewell. Just another name on the list, his status as a protagonist ripped away as he returns to just being another unfortunate random person. This is probably one of the darkest deaths I've seen in a piece of fiction. He died because he tried to save those closest to him, and his corpse was transformed into the thing he hated most. He doesn't get a hero's farewell or even a chance to say goodbye to his friends. He gets the same fate as the 15 teenagers in Columbine, the 26 kids and 6 adults in Sandy Hook, the 21 kids in Uvalde, or the 98 people who died in the Miami condo building collapse. Something distant and remote. That is the real horror of the Gun Devil. How spontaneous it can be, how it arrives without warning, and in its wake it leaves a list of names that we gradually grow numb to over time. It is the personification of needless tragedy, a horror that grows deeper inside us each day as we begin to feel indifferent to it all and just move on with our lives. By including Aki amongst those casualties, Fujimoto shows how something can feel so distant, but also personal to us as the reader. And thus the Gun Devil meant nothing. It was a mere MacGuffin, less a villain and more an elemental force who comes and leaves in a hurricane of violence. It means nothing, but it is also everything. This is just one element in the chaotic stew of Chainsaw Man. For those of you who enjoy it, I hope I've better articulated maybe something that you couldn't quite fully explain yourselves. And to those not familiar with the series, maybe I've given you a little insight into what's made it so special compared towards its contemporaries. Some have wondered if the Gun Devil is Fujimoto's commentary on American gun violence. In his most recent one-shot he wrote, called Listen to This Song, it features a high school kid who makes a cringy confession video to the girl he has a crush on. He shares the video and it becomes a viral hit, but everyone has a different interpretation of what the video means. Some people think if you pause the video you can see a ghost. If you translate it backwards, it denies the existence of God. If you play it backwards, it's a criticism of American gun culture. This little one-shot seems to be a reflection on the popularity of Chainsaw Man and how so many different people draw meaning from it. Fujimoto has an impish side about him and likes to troll his audience, so I don't think we'll ever get him to state his direct authorial intent with what he was looking to achieve with the Gun Devil, but I think his approach was something I'd never seen in the space of shonen manga or any other medium before, and I think the best art can make you reflect on the world you live in new ways, even if that art is made by a guy who tries to levitate and sings songs about his favorite things to eat. And comes in the form of a hero who transforms into a monster with a chainsaw on his head. Hope you enjoyed that look at what makes the Gun Devil so scary and unique. Let me know what you think in the comments below, and let me know if you found the Gun Devil especially unsettling compared to the other devils and monsters in Chainsaw Man. Of course, as any good person working under the Orwellian gaze of the social media devil will tell you, it's time for me to try and fulfill my contract with it by offering up your likes, comments, and subscriptions, so it may bless me with algorithmic reach.
Algorithm! Math!
So like, comment, help me feed the insatiable thirst of the social media devil so it may reward me with clout and Google ad bucks. And of course, a special thank you to the list of people who support my work and who are still very much alive. Eric Duhane, Shonen Ronan, Walking the Steps, Carla Hoffman, Aaron Toney, and Joseph Malty. These generous patrons are the ones who support my work. Join them if you'd like to support my video essays, reviews, and analysis. Again, thank you for all watching this video. I'll see you in the comment section and hope to see you in my next video.
好きな牛乳メグミルク好きな生クリーム生クリーム好きなアイスソフトクリーム僕は生きてる好きなたらこめ